How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Perfect. Thank you.
What's on your mind
How are
today?
you? I wanted to ask Jesus something related to this. I just went to have lunch with my family, and there was some conversations around things that are happening in the world, and they were jumping from one thing to the other, from one story more worrying
Yep,
than the other. And well, there's some mixed feelings in here. I try to recently just let them be, all right, with their stories
yep,
and just bless them.
yep,
I tend to avoid them to just jump in with my truth because I mean I know some different things that they share.
yep,
But I think also I do this, how Jesus was saying, a little bit because of fear of jumping into an argument and then getting a lot of anxiety and then arguing more and more, which I don't
yep,
want to enter there. But
yep.
also I see like there's strong unwillingness to listen to something different. And also there is this other part of me which I love them and I see how they're suffering and I want to sort of like a little bit like save them from their interpretation of things that are happening.
Yes.
So my question is, how to discern when to join that conversation. What I currently do, I just enjoy the conversation and I just make small comments or like in the shape of questions that make them question like what they're thinking.
Yep.
And also how to discern how long should we go in those conversations in trying to, I don't know, communicate something different.
Okay. Awesome question. Awesome question.
Thank you.
You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. This is a wonderful, wonderful question because you are often the black sheep in your family. A lot of you are the black sheep in your family. And so you have encountered families of your own that are completely different than you, that believe things that are completely different than you. Of course, this came up a lot during the COVID debacle, and you realized that you were the only one that had a different point of view, and you could see your beloved beings walking like lambs to the slaughter to do things that were not going to benefit their health in any way, shape, or form. But this is the end of a spiritual season for everybody. And everybody is going to be okay in the end. And this is where we want you to start your thinking process. Everybody is going to be okay in the end. And suffering is becomes intolerable in the end. And some beings have to go through a process of believing in things that are not true right to the end at times. Many, many people have, through their conditioning programs, experienced things in the last few years that have taken them to their demise physically. It has not taken them to their demise spiritually. Nobody is ever abandoned completely, but there are important decisions that are made that will require a redoing of the grade. We go back to your high school ideas of if you fail your grade 12, you can't go to university. It doesn't mean that the university is punishing you. They are saying you can't go any further without the basic education. You have to go back until you've got the basic education. And that is what happens with beings who get deeply entrenched into their belief in separation. Of course, we go back to the fundamental. You have to remember that everybody came into separation because they believed in things still that were of a separate nature. And so this is what you are seeing. You, as a Course in Miracles student, are rising above the battleground, and you are now seeing it as a battleground, even though perhaps at some point you were down in the battleground yourself. Through your forgiveness practice, through your association with other Course students, you are stepping up out of the pit. Remember, if you think about going down into separation, going down into a deep, deep, dark pit with a bunch of other people who also believe in separation, as you begin to climb up the ladder to get out of the hole, you're not even really aware of the size of the depth and the darkness of the hole that you're in until you start to get higher up the ladder. Down at the bottom of the ladder, they are clamoring and fighting and arguing, and you are 2 or 3 rungs up and you yell down, well, that's not true. This is what I think. And then you climb up another rung of the ladder by doing some forgiveness work, by hanging out with like-minded people, by reading the course, by praying, by getting into your creativity, by listening to your guidance. You climb up another few rungs and you hear the arguing down lower in the pit, and you hear the voices, but this is the way it is, and Trump is bad, and the education system is good, everybody needs an education. And you start getting a little bit further away. Now it's not so easy to join in the conversation. You are hearing the shouts because they're yelling, but really the conversation now is not of such interest to you. You are beginning to feel, when you look up, you are seeing the light up there. You are beginning to understand that there's something else going on. But there's a reluctance to leave those beings. You were down in the pit with them, arguing about whatever it was that you used to get triggered by. But now you are climbing farther and farther up the ladder, and you feel a cool breeze coming down from above you. You feel some warm air. Perhaps it is sun, perhaps it is frost. You are realizing there's an environment up there that's got nothing to do with this pit. And gosh, the pit isn't much fun to be in. I'm realizing as I step up these rungs out of the pit of arguing, and looks like a battleground down there. Yes, we're getting back to the same old story of the battleground. You cannot override other beings' free will. And if they want to stay in the battleground, they are going to stay in the battleground. You can, when you're a few rungs above them, you can say, look up here, there's light up here. Do you want to come up the ladder with me? And they will be too busy arguing at times to listen to you. And so you have a choice now. Do you stay in the bottom rungs of the ladder so you can talk to them, to cajole them, to convince them that there's light and fresh air up there? Or do you say, I don't think they're going to listen to me. I think I need to climb the ladder myself. And so you start to go up more rungs of the ladder, and eventually you come out into a new world. Now their voices of arguing in the battleground, you can barely hear them. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It means that you have listened to your inner guidance, and it means that you have smelt the fresh air, and you have seen the light, and you don't want to live down in the bottom of the pit anymore. And you can do that without guilt. There are beings who will climb up the ladder, and there are beings who will not climb up the ladder. Your business and your practice is your business. That is it. This is the time for each of you to decide whether you are going to climb up the ladder further and further towards what you want, towards what you love, towards what you want to experience, or whether you are going to hang around on the lower rungs with beings who don't want to climb up the ladder. You want to climb up the ladder. It is much more beautiful out of the pit. The air is fresh and clean. There is sunlight. There are landscapes to explore. There are people up on the landscape who are not arguing with each other, who are very nice and are interested in the kinds of things you are interested in. So climb the ladder. Say a parting prayer to those beings who are still fighting down in the pit, and know that they have seen you. They have heard the things that you have said. And you climbing up the ladder does not mean that you're not a loving person. It means that you understand that this is the end of a spiritual season. It means you understand that you cannot change somebody's mind for them. You can throw a few breadcrumbs on the way up the ladder, but there comes a point where you have to make a choice. Now, you may be on the lower rungs of the ladder as you think, because these beings are still calling to you. They are still influencing you. They are still making you feel things that you don't particularly want to feel. But the truth of the matter is that you have to live your life, and it will, at the end of your life, be your life that you review. It will be your actions that you review. Now, we will tell you that climbing to the top of the ladder and getting out into the sunlight and the new landscapes may bring to you an experience of evolution that allows you to help other beings who are stuck down in the mire and the muck of the battleground. And that is what happened to this being. She never anticipated having the kind of experience that she's having. She never anticipated having 12 million views of videos on YouTube. She never anticipated that. She just climbed up the ladder. That's all she did. And in the climbing up of the ladder, she evolved into a place where communications from her guides and teachers could reach her clearly and succinctly. And she chose to participate in this process of channeling and has done it from day one with a clear intention to help relieve suffering. But before she could do that, she had to climb up the ladder. So for all of you, we want you to understand that this purpose that you have been given, these amazing gifts that are going to come your way, come to you once you've climbed up the ladder. They do not go down to the bottom of the pit. They come to you as you climb up the ladder and as you breathe in that fresh air and that new information and you associate with like-minded people. And you will be astonished at what will happen to you when you brush off the dust from down in the pit and you step out into that new landscape. This is a time of transformation. This is a time of ascension. And everybody has a mind of their own. Everybody has conditioning that they have allowed to live in their mind. Everybody suffers to one degree or another. Everybody has freedom to choose what they spend their time doing. And if they are choosing to spend their time arguing and suffering, that is what their soul wants at this time. And it is not up to you to take it away from them. Now, when you're at that table, because there are, of course, as you're climbing the ladder, Easters and Christmases and times when you get together with people, ask for your communications to be guided. Pray before you go to one of those family events. Pray to be given patience. Pray to be given insight, and pray to be inspired to speak when it's time for you to speak. And if you aren't inspired to speak, then you can keep your conversation in the neutral place. You can keep your conversation into things that are not going to cause a ruckus. But you may, if you prepare your mind correctly and you are courageous and connected, you may, because you are a few rungs higher than these beings, you may have inspiration that comes from spirit to speak. Remember, people getting angry at you, people yelling at you, it won't kill you. In fact, at times when someone yells at you, when someone tells you that you're self-centered and that you know nothing, if you do not believe them, it bounces off you like water off a duck's back. You do not need to be afraid of what other people say. The only time what other people say hurts you is when you believe them. And that may be the lesson that you have to have with this family group. Perhaps there are things that you are afraid that they will say. Perhaps there are things that you do not want to reveal. Perhaps there are secrets and shadows in your own mind that you do not want to have brought out onto the table. But we will tell you, this is not a time for shadows and secrets. This is a time for congruency. And there is nothing wrong at all at your dinner table with your family. There's nothing wrong at all with you telling them what you believe is going on. You don't believe them, they won't believe you, and that is fine. You all have the ability to speak. Perhaps they are being more congruent than you are. Who knows? Give it a try. The next time you have a family gathering, think about this conversation that we have had and ask yourself, well, maybe I will speak up and I'll see what happens, and I will see whether it's like water off a duck's back or whether I take it personally, and that will give you something to work on indeed. That is our answer.